I always thought Clara was the kind of woman who could light up a room just by walking into it. Her laugh was like wind chimes on a summer porch, and her hazel eyes caught the sun in a way that made me feel like I'd won some cosmic lottery when she chose me. We'd been married 8 years, built a life in a quiet suburban neighborhood. 2-story house, white fence, a golden retriever named Max who greeted me at the door every evening. I worked long hours as a structural engineer, designing bridges that connected cities, while Clara ran her little bakery downtown, filling the air with the scent of cinnamon and vanilla. Life was steady, predictable, good. But there's a thing about predictability, it blinds you. You stop looking for cracks because you assume the foundation's solid. That's how I missed it at first. The late nights she'd come home, flour still dusting her apron, her cheeks flushed like she'd been running. I'd ask how her day was, and she'd smile, say the usual. Busy, tiring, the oven's acting up again. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? She was my Clara, the woman who'd cried in my arms when Max had his first vet scare, who'd stayed up with me sketching blueprints when deadlines loomed. Trust was the mortar holding us together. It started with the phone. One night, I was in the kitchen, pouring myself a glass of water, when her cell buzzed on the counter. She was in the shower, humming some tune I didn't recognize. The screen lit up. *T, meet me tomorrow, usual spot. No context, no explanation. My stomach twisted, but I told myself it was nothing. A friend, a supplier for the bakery, someone harmless. I didn't touch the phone. Didn't want to be that guy, the paranoid husband snooping through her life. But the message stuck, a splinter under my skin. I watched her that night, towel drying her hair, laughing about some customer who'd ordered a cake shaped like a tractor. She seemed normal. Too normal. The next day, I couldn't focus. Blueprints blurred into meaningless lines. I kept seeing that T, wondering who it was, what usual spot meant. By noon, I'd convinced myself to let it go, until I drove past her bakery on my lunch break. Her car wasn't there. She told me that morning she'd be swamped with orders all day. I circled the block, heart thudding, telling myself it was a coincidence. Maybe she'd run an errand. But then I saw it, her blue hatchback, parked outside a dingy motel 2 miles from downtown. I pulled over, hands shaking on the wheel, staring at that neon sign flickering *, vacancy. I didn't go in. Not yet. I just sat there, breathing hard, the world tilting under me. Driving home that afternoon, I felt like a stranger in my own skin. The motel image burned behind my eyes. Clara's car, that grimy lot, the implications I couldn't unsee. I wanted to storm back, kick down every door until I found her. But something held me. Fear, maybe, or the fragile hope I was wrong. When I got home, Max bounded over, tail wagging, oblivious to the storm brewing in me. Clara wasn't there yet. I paced the living room, replaying every moment of the last few months. Had she been distant? Had her hugs felt rehearsed? I couldn't tell anymore. Memory was a traitor, twisting itself to fit my doubts. She walked in at 7, apron slung over her arm, smelling faintly of sugar and something else. Something sharper, like cologne. "Hey, Han," she said, kissing my cheek. "Long day. You eat yet?" Her voice was light, casual, like nothing had shifted. I mumbled something about leftovers, watching her move through the kitchen, pouring herself wine, chatting about a broken mixer. I wanted to scream, to grab her shoulders and demand answers, but I didn't. I nodded, smiled, played the part of the clueless husband. Inside, I was unraveling. That night, I couldn't sleep. She lay beside me, breathing softly, her arm draped over my chest like always. I stared at the ceiling, piecing it together. The late nights, the flushed cheeks, that message from T. I needed proof, something concrete to confront her with, or to convince myself I was crazy. At 2 a.m., I slipped out of bed, grabbed her phone from the nightstand. Passcode was our anniversary, ironic now. The message thread with T was gone, deleted. But there were others, vague, flirty exchanges with a contact labeled Tom. *, missed you today. Can't wait for Thursday. Asterisk, my hands trembled as I scrolled, each word a blade. Thursday. That was tomorrow. I put the phone back, crawled into bed, her warmth beside me now a mockery. Morning came and I watched her leave, same routine, same wave from the porch. But I didn't go to work. I called in sick, grabbed my keys and followed her. She didn't head to the bakery. She drove straight to that motel, parked, and disappeared into room 12. I waited, hidden across the street, until he showed up. Tom, I assumed. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a leather jacket. He knocked once and she let him in. The door closed and my world did too. I sat in my car for an hour, staring at that door, imagining what was happening behind it. Every creak of the motel's rickety stairs, every shadow in the window, fueled the fire in my chest. I didn't cry, I was too hollow for that. Instead, I planned. Confronting her now would be messy, emotional, and I'd lose the upper hand. No, I needed to know everything. Who he was, how long this had been going on, what she saw in him that I lacked. I drove home, mind racing, and started digging. First, I checked her laptop. Left open on the kitchen table, no password because she trusted me. Emails were clean, but her browser history wasn't. Searches for Tom Hargrove, a local contractor who'd renovated her bakery last year. LinkedIn showed his face. Same guy from the motel, smirking in a headshot. There were other tabs, romantic getaways, lingerie shops, things she'd never mentioned to me. I found a hidden folder labeled recipes. Photos of them, dozens, time-stamped over months. Her in his arms, laughing, places I didn't recognize. One was dated our anniversary. I stared at it until my eyes burned. Next, I called the bakery. Her assistant, Jen, picked up. "She's out meeting a supplier," Jen said, cheerful as ever. I asked if Tom Hargrove was the supplier. A pause. Then, no, he's just a friend who stops by sometimes. The lie was thin, and Jen's stutter gave her away. I thanked her, hung up, and kept digging. Bank statements showed cash withdrawals, hundreds over months, unexplained. Motel money, probably. Each discovery was a brick in the wall I was building. Not to keep her out, but to trap her in. That night, she came home late again, humming, radiant. I asked about her day, casual as ever. "Oh, just the usual chaos," she said, sipping her wine. I smiled, nodded, let her talk. Inside, I was sketching my revenge. Not loud, not impulsive, but cold, precise, like the bridges I built. She'd feel it, every beam and bolt, and she wouldn't see it coming. I'd make sure of that. The next week, I became a ghost in my own life. I went to work, kissed her goodbye, ate dinner across from her, all while watching, waiting, plotting. She didn't notice the shift. Too wrapped up in her secret, I guess. I shadowed her twice more, confirming the pattern. Tuesdays and Thursdays, room 12, Tom Hargrove. I took photos, grainy shots from my car, timestamps glowing in the corner. Evidence wasn't enough, though. I wanted her to hurt like I did, to lose something she couldn't replace. Tom was the key. I researched him, deep, obsessive dives into public records, social media, anything I could find. He was divorced, no kids, lived in a rundown duplex across town. A contractor with a decent reputation, but whispers of shady deals floated online. Unpaid subcontractors, cut corners. Vulnerable, then. I could use that. Clara, though, was trickier. Her bakery was her soul, her pride. She'd built it from nothing, poured every ounce of herself into it. That's where I'd hit her, where it'd sting most. I started small, testing the waters. One night, I accidentally left her phone on the counter, screen unlocked, Tom's messages visible. She snatched it up, eyes wide, stammering about a glitch. "Weird," I said, shrugging, letting her squirm. Another day, I mentioned Tom in passing. "Saw his truck downtown. Didn't he do your renovations?" She froze, then laughed it off. Too loud. Too quick. I was planting seeds, letting her wonder how much I knew. She started sleeping fitfully, glancing at me like I was a stranger. Good. Let her sweat. Meanwhile, I worked on Tom. I contacted an old client of his, posed as a potential customer, got him talking. Hargrove? Yeah, he's cheap, but watch your back. He stiffed me on a payment last year. I filed that away, dug deeper, found 2 more who'd sue if they could afford it. I had leverage now, a way to dismantle him. But Clara's punishment needed flair, something poetic. I thought about her bakery, her sanctuary, her lie. An idea sparked, dark and sharp, and I let it simmer. By the end of the 2nd week, I had a plan. It wasn't enough to expose her, to walk away with divorce papers and half our savings. I wanted her to feel the betrayal twist, to see her world crumble like mine had. Tom would fall too, collateral damage, but necessary. I started with him. Using a burner phone, I sent anonymous tips to his old clients, details of his shady jobs, dates, amounts owed. I leaked it to a local contractor forum, watched the outrage spread. Within days, his phone must have been ringing off the hook. Angry voicemails, threats of lawsuits. I didn't stop there. I mailed photos of him and Clara, motel timestamps included, to his ex-wife. Let her stir the pot. Clara's turn was next. I waited until Tuesday, her busy day. She left that morning, chipper as ever, oblivious to the storm I'd unleashed. I drove to the bakery, not the motel. Jen was there, icing cupcakes, surprised to see me. Clara's out, she said, nervous. I know, I replied, handing her an envelope. Give her this when she's back. Inside was a single photo, her and Tom mid-embrace with a note. Asterisk, I saw you. Asterisk, no signature, no explanation. I wanted her to panic, to scramble, to feel the walls closing in. She called me an hour later, voice shaky. What's this picture? Where'd you get it? I played dumb. What picture? Forcing her to explain, to dig her own hole. She stammered, said it was a misunderstanding, a friend helping with deliveries. Huh, I said, calm as ice. Weird. I hung up, let her stew. That night, she was a mess. Overly sweet, cooking my favorite meal, asking about my day like she hadn't in years. I ate, smiled, said nothing. The bakery was her lifeline, and I'd already started cutting it. I'd contacted the building's landlord, a guy I knew from work, casually mentioned issues with the bakery, late rent, complaints about cleanliness. All lies, but he didn't check. By Friday, he'd sent her a warning letter. Step 1. Step 2 was bigger, crueler, and I was ready to pull the trigger. She'd built her life on lies. I'd rebuild it on ruins. Clara's unraveling was subtle at first, like a thread pulled loose from a sweater. She started checking her phone obsessively, glancing at me when she thought I wasn't looking. The landlord's letter had landed. Jen let it slip when I dropped by the bakery again, pretending to pick up pastries. Clara's freaking out, Jen whispered, icing smudged on her cheek. She thinks someone's sabotaging her. I nodded sympathetically, hiding the smirk clawing at my lips. Sabotage wasn't the half of it. I was dismantling her piece by piece, and she didn't even know the architect was me. Tom was crumbling too. The contractor forum had erupted. Angry posts, threats to blacklist him, even a local news blog picking up the story. Asterisk, shady contractor faces backlash. Asterisk, his ex-wife, fueled by those photos, had called his biggest client, a church needing a new roof, and aired every dirty detail. I heard through a friend they'd dropped him that week. I pictured him pacing his duplex, sweating, wondering who'd lit the match. Not me, not yet. He'd never see my face until it was too late. At home, Clara's mask slipped further. She burned dinner one night, something she never did, and snapped when I asked if she was okay. I'm fine, just tired, she barked, slamming a pot into the sink. I watched her, silent, letting her stew in her own guilt. Max whimpered, sensing the tension, and she softened, petting him like an apology. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. Then I remembered room 12, her laugh in those photos, and the pity evaporated. She'd chosen this. Now she'd live it. I upped the ante. Using a fake email, I sent the motel photos to her bakery's social media followers. Hundreds of locals, customers, friends. Captioned simply, asterisk, Your baker's secret ingredient. Asterisk, I watched the fallout from my laptop, anonymous and safe. Comments flooded in, shock, disgust, some defending her, most not. By morning, she was on the phone, voice shrill, begging Jen to delete it all. It's a lie, a prank, she cried, loud enough for me to hear from the living room. I sipped my coffee, said nothing. The bakery's Yelp page tanked, 3 stars to 1 overnight. Her lifeline was fraying, and I'd barely started. Clara came home that night a wreck, eyes red, hair tangled, apron clutched like a lifeline. Someone's targeting me, she said, voice trembling as she sank onto the couch. The bakery's a mess. People are canceling orders. I put on my best concerned face, sat beside her, asked what happened. She spilled it. Online attacks, nasty reviews, customers whispering behind her back. I don't know who'd do this, she whispered, burying her face in her hands. I rubbed her shoulder, murmured something vague about jealousy, and let her lean into me. Her tears soaked my shirt, and I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Tom called her that night. I saw his name flash on her phone before she silenced it, slipping it into her pocket with a guilty glance. She didn't know I tapped her line days ago. A cheap device from an electronics store, recording every word. I listened later, alone in the garage. Him ranting about his ruined business, her soothing him, promising they'd figure it out. I can't lose you too, she said, voice soft, intimate. My grip tightened on the wrench I'd been holding, imagining it crashing through something. Anything. They were still clinging to each other, even now. That sealed it. I hit the bakery harder. I'd found an old health inspection loophole. Anonymous complaints triggered surprise visits. I filed one, detailed and damning. Mold rumors, unclean ovens, things no one could ignore. The inspector showed up Thursday, right during her motel day. Jen texted her, frantic, and Clara raced back, missing Tom. I knew because I'd followed, parked across from room 12, watching him knock, wait, leave. She called him later, sobbing, caught on my recorder, about violations, a temporary closure. It's falling apart, she said. He promised to help, clueless his own world was ash. That night, she clung to me, fragile, begging for comfort. I don't know what I'd do without you, she whispered, head on my chest. I stroked her hair, said I'd always be there, and meant it, just not how she thought. The bakery was her heart. I'd rip it out, then twist the knife deeper. The closure hit Clara like a freight train. She spent Friday on the phone with the health department, pleading, explaining, but the violation stuck. Fines piled up, doors locked until she fixed it. I watched her pace the kitchen, papers scattered, voice cracking as she left voicemails for lawyers, suppliers, anyone. This can't be happening, she kept saying like a mantra. I offered to help, suggested loans, played the supportive husband. She hugged me, grateful, oblivious I'd engineered every brick of her collapse. Tom was next. I'd saved his finale for the right moment. Using another burner, I sent his clients, all the ones still wavering, edited audio clips from Clara's calls. Her voice, clear as day, laughing about fooling everyone. Spliced with his grunts of agreement. Lies sure but believable enough. By Saturday, his last gig, a strip mall remodel, canceled. I drove by his duplex that night, saw lights off, truck gone. Rumor was he'd skipped town, tail between his legs. Good riddance. Clara didn't know yet. She'd find out soon enough. She started unraveling faster. Sunday, she found the recorder. My mistake, left in the garage after a late listen. What's this? She asked, holding it up, eyes narrow. I shrugged, said it was a work thing, took it back. She didn't buy it, watched me all day like I was a puzzle she couldn't solve. I kept calm, but inside I cursed myself. She was close to cracking, and I needed her blind a little longer. That night, she slept downstairs, claiming a headache. Distance was growing perfect. Monday, I dropped the next bomb. I'd hired a guy, sketchy, cash-only type, to plant evidence at the bakery. Spoiled flour bags, rat droppings, nothing traceable. Health inspectors returned, tipped off again, and shut it down indefinitely. Clara came home screaming, mascara streaked, accusing everyone, Jen, competitors, me. "You're never here when I need you," she yelled. I stayed quiet, let her rage, knowing she'd turn to Tom next. She did late, sneaking out to call him. I listened, he was gone, phone dead. She sobbed alone in the dark, and I smiled. Clara's desperation was palpable now, a scent in the air like burnt sugar. Tuesday, she sat at the kitchen table, staring at bankruptcy forms, bakery keys in a useless pile. "It's over," she whispered, more to herself than me. I offered coffee, sat across from her, asked if she'd heard from Tom. Her head snapped up, eyes wide. "Why would I?" she stammered. I shrugged, just wondering, with all this mess. She changed the subject fast, but the seed was planted. She knew I knew something. I'd saved the cruelest cut for her breaking point. Wednesday, I leaked the motel photos to her family, her prim mother, her gossiping sister, via an untraceable email. By noon, her phone buzzed nonstop. Calls, texts, outrage. She locked herself in the bathroom, shouting through tears at her mom. "It's not true." I heard every word, sipping beer in the living room, Max at my feet. Her sister showed up an hour later, banging on the door, calling her a disgrace. Clara emerged, pale, begging me to back her up. "Tell her it's fake," she pleaded. I looked at her, deadpan. "Is it?" She froze, then ran upstairs, sobbing. That night, she confronted me. "You did this, didn't you?" she hissed, standing in our bedroom doorway, fists clenched. I didn't flinch. "Did what?" I asked, folding laundry like it was any other day. She lunged, grabbed my shirt, screamed about the photos, the bakery, Tom. I pushed her off, calm, said she was losing it. She stared, wild-eyed, then collapsed, muttering about losing everything. I left her there, went downstairs, planned the final blow. Tom's absence was my ace. I tracked him, fled to a cousin's in Ohio, thinking he'd escaped. I sent one last package. Every photo, every call, his ruined reputation, mailed to his cousin's address with a note. Asterisk, she's next. Asterisk, let him sweat, wondering when I'd come for him. Clara, though, was mine to finish. Thursday morning, Clara was a shell, quiet, hollow, moving like a puppet with cut strings. She didn't leave the house, didn't eat, just sat by the window staring at nothing. Her phone was dead, family silent, bakery gone. I watched her, feeling the weight of my work settle in. Not joy, not yet, but a grim satisfaction. She'd betrayed me in a way I'd never imagined, and now she had nothing left to hold on to. Almost nothing. I waited until dusk, then sat beside her. "We need to talk," I said, voice steady. She flinched, turned those empty eyes on me. "About what?" she whispered. I pulled out the recorder, played it. Her voice, Tom's, months of lies unspooling. Her face crumpled, hands shaking as she reached for it. I yanked it back. "You thought I wouldn't find out?" I asked, low, controlled. She didn't answer, just stared, mouth open like a fish drowning in air. I stood, dropped the bombshell. "I've known since the motel. I took it all, your bakery, your lover, your family. You're alone now, Clara." She lunged, clawing at me, screaming I'd ruined her life. I let her hit me once, twice, then grabbed her wrists, held her still. "You ruined mine first," I said, and walked out, leaving her crumpled on the floor. Max followed me, loyal as ever. That night, I packed a bag, left the house keys on the counter, and drove away. She'd find the divorce papers tomorrow, delivered by a courier with one last photo. Her and Tom, annotated, asterisk, enjoy the memories. Asterisk, I didn't look back. Revenge wasn't sweet. It was heavy, final, a bridge I'd built and burned behind me. She'd live with the ashes. I didn't go far that first night. Just a motel across town, ironically similar to the one where Clara had shattered me. The irony wasn't lost on me as I checked in. Max curled up on the thin carpet, watching me unpack a duffel bag with the essentials. Clothes, laptop, a bottle of bourbon. I poured a glass, sat on the edge of the bed, and let the silence settle. It wasn't triumph I felt. Not exactly. More like the quiet after a storm, when the wind stops howling but the wreckage is still there. I'd torn her world down, brick by brick, and now I had to figure out what was left of mine. Clara called at midnight, her number flashing on my phone. I let it ring, watched it go to voicemail. She left 3, sobbing. Incoherent pleas at first, then a shaky accusation. "You're a monster." I didn't listen live. I played them later, sipping bourbon, letting her voice echo in the dim room. She didn't get it. Didn't see that she'd carved the monster out of me, hollowed me out with every lie. I deleted the messages, blocked her number, and slept better than I had in weeks. Morning brought the courier's confirmation. Divorce papers delivered, signed for, photo included. I pictured her opening it, seeing that last taunt, crumpling under the weight. I didn't stop there. I'd hired a lawyer months ago, quietly, a shark who'd bleed her dry in court. No kids, no joint business, just the house, and I'd already listed it with an agent, cash offer pending. She'd get nothing but debt and memories. I leaned back, Max's head on my knee, and started planning my next move. A new city, a clean slate. By noon, I checked Clara's social media unblocked just for this. Her bakery page was a ghost town. Last post a desperate apology drowned in hate comments. Her personal profile was worse. Friends unfollowing, family silent, a single vague update. Asterisk, lost everything. Asterisk, I closed the laptop satisfied. She'd wanted a secret life with Tom. Now she had nothing but the ruins of it. The house sold faster than I'd expected. Cash buyer, no questions, done in 3 days. I met the agent at a coffee shop, signed the papers, pocketed my half after debts. Clara's name was still on the title, but she'd see none of it. My lawyer had tied her up in liens from the bakery's collapse. I wired the money to a new account, untouchable, and rented a small apartment an hour away, a place with hardwood floors and a view of nothing but trees. Max loved it, chasing squirrels in the yard while I unpacked. She showed up that afternoon, banging on the door, hair wild, eyes sunken. "You can't do this," she yelled, voice cracking through the wood. I opened it, calm, let her storm in. She waved the divorce papers, ink smudged from tears, demanding I stop. "You've taken everything, my home, my work, my life." I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "You gave it away first," I said, voice flat. She lunged, slapped me, nails raking my cheek. I didn't flinch, just pointed to the door. "Leave or I call the cops." She froze, then fled, sobbing into the dusk. I wiped the blood from my face, poured another drink, and called my lawyer. Restraining order, next step, granted by morning, no contest. She'd crossed a line and I'd use it. That night, I found a package on the porch. Her wedding ring, a note. Asterisk, you win. Asterisk, I tossed it in the trash, no hesitation. Winning wasn't the point. Making her feel the void was. I slept with the window open, Max snoring beside me, the air cool and clean. Tom surfaced the next day. A friend tipped me off. Back in town, hiding at a dive bar, begging for jobs. I smiled, made a call, sent his cousin's package details to the bar owner. Another nail in his coffin. He'd limp away again, broken. Clara wouldn't save him this time. Weeks passed, and the dust settled, mine, not hers. I started a new job, remote, designing bridges from my apartment. Max my only company. The work was steady, grounding, a lifeline to a life I could still recognize. Clara faded from my days, but not my mind, not yet. I check in, covertly, through mutuals or online scraps. She'd moved in with her sister, a cramped condo downtown, working odd jobs, waitressing, cleaning, anything to scrape by. The bakery was a memory, foreclosed, raised for a parking lot. Poetic, I thought. Her sister posted a photo once. Clara in the background, gaunt, staring at nothing. Comments pitted her, called her a victim. I laughed, bitter, shut the screen. Victim? She'd built her cage, locked herself in with every choice. I just turned the key. Tom was a ghost too. Last seen hauling scrap in Ohio, reputation torched, no one touching him. They'd lost each other, their anchor in the storm, and I'd made sure of it. One night, she emailed me, no subject, just a wall of text. Apologies, excuses, pleased to talk. I never meant to hurt you, she wrote. Tom was a mistake. I read it twice, let the words sink in, then deleted it. No reply, no mercy. She didn't deserve my voice anymore. I poured a drink, toasted the silence, and moved on. Max nudged my hand, warm and real, the only loyalty I needed. The restraining order held. She stayed away, legally bound. I heard she tried calling once, from a burner, but I'd changed my number. She was a shadow now, flitting at the edges, powerless. My life was mine again, rebuilt on my terms, and hers was a cautionary tale whispered in town. Months later, I got a call. Jen. From the bakery, voice hesitant. Clara's in the hospital, she said. Overdose, pills. Not sure if it was on purpose. I paused, glass halfway to my lips, felt nothing at first. She okay? I asked, more reflex than care. Jen didn't know. Clara was stable but quiet, broken. She keeps asking for you, Jen added. I thanked her, hung up, sat in the dark. Part of me wondered if I'd pushed too far, if the weight I'd dropped had crushed more than I'd meant. Then I remembered her in room 12, laughing in those photos, and the guilt dissolved. I didn't visit. She wasn't my burden anymore. My lawyer sent a final letter. Divorce finalized, no contest, her signature shaky on the dotted line. The house money was mine, her debts hers. I bought a cabin upstate with it, a place with a porch and a lake view, Max's paradise. I moved that weekend, left no forwarding address, cut the last threads. She'd survive or she wouldn't, her choice, not mine. Tom's end came quieter. A news blip, arrested for petty theft, drunk, nowhere to go. I read it, nodded, filed it away. He'd been a tool in her betrayal, a pawn in my game, and now he was nothing. I wondered if she knew, if she cared. Probably not. Her world had shrunk to survival, no room for ghosts. I stood on my porch that night, bourbon in hand, Max at my feet, the lake glinting under the moon. The air was crisp, free, mine. I'd burned their lives to the ground, walked away clean. It wasn't joy, wasn't peace, just a hard, steady calm. Enough. A year later, I got a letter, no return address, her handwriting. I'm sorry. It started simple, raw. She wrote about the hospital, the pills, the fog after. She'd moved west, started over, a diner job, no friends, no bakery dreams. I see you in everything I lost, she ended. No plea, just words. I read it, let it sit, then burned it in the cabin's fireplace, watching the flames eat her last reach. Max slept through it, firelight on his fur, and I felt the chapter close. I'd rebuilt, new job, new home, new life. Clara and Tom were echoes, faint and fading. I crafted a revenge that didn't just hurt. It erased, reshaped, left them hollow. Cruel? Maybe. Deserved? Absolutely. I sipped my drink, stared at the lake, and let them go. The bridge was mine now, strong, unyielding, and theirs was ash.